Salamangreats continue to be a great option to play in Attribute 4. Not only is it free to play, but it can be very effective in getting you a lot of wins very quickly and efficiently. As you can see from our win percentage here, we've won about 8 games and lost just 1, and the one game we lost was really a bad matchup, going second against Adamancipator. I just didn't want to sit through a 10-minute combo, so I just scooped turn 1. But the deck is essentially free to play, like I mentioned. I'll link in the description my deck list video where I cover how you can build this deck for free and some of the effective tech options you can use. In this build, I am using the Appaloosa, the Dugaris, and the Baguska. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the more higher level matches with this deck and how you can kind of play through opponents' boards and interruptions. Alright, in this matchup, we are going second yet again. That's okay though. Our hand is Pure Engine, which is both good and bad. It means that we don't really have too many things to stop the opponent, but they reveal that they are on Traptrix, and I posted a Rika video where I went up against this deck and I kind of explained what my thought process is. The Sarah is what really generates a lot of advantage for them, and the Rafflesia is just protection as well as one interruption. So we know they brought Gravedigger's Trap Hole. That's one of these 2 set cards. There's potentially a hand trap, but also another trap hole that we have to play through. But the issue is that they'll extend with Sarah, getting more resources, monsters, and traps to their field and hand. So we have to be very careful of that. We're going to start off with a circle, searching for a foul, and this is to bait out the Gravedigger's Trap Hole. And sure enough, the opponent does indeed activate it. So on summon of the Foxy, I'm thinking like, oh, let me just go ahead and activate this effect to excavate, because I might be able to pull up an additional resource. And sure enough, I get the Roar, which I'm going to use for follow-up, because I'm anticipating that I can break this board. Or not necessarily break it. I guess break it, yeah. Break it to a certain extent, but I'll be able to set up my own things that I can counteract the opponent. And it may not be too apparent right now with what we have on field and in our hand, but you will see how this kind of progresses if you watch this match out. So, upon summon of Balinks, we don't summon the Gazelle. We're going to go ahead and summon the Exceed first, and the reason is because we actually want to go into Baguska. So this was the thinking, right? Let me go into Baguska, negate the effect of Rafflesia so they can't send a trap card to, negate whatever they want, basically. And I can summon the Sunlight Wolf under Baguska because it's a link monster, beat over the Sarah, and my Sunlight Wolf will stay in attack mode. I can set the Roar and have follow-up for next turn, right? That's a good situation for me. Next turn, I can deal with the Rafflesia and their monster. They probably won't be able to out a Baguska. However, they revealed their second card in Bottomless Trap Hole. That's really bad for us, actually. And I was like, man, you can't be serious right now. Bottomless Trap Hole. And sure enough, from that, the opponent is going to trigger a number of different effects and replenish their resources. Now, one thing to note is that this Bottomless will get banished at the end of the next turn. So it's not activatable right now. So resetting this is questionable by the opponent. But I don't know. I guess they didn't want to reset a Gravedigger's. So we're going to go ahead now and discard the Spinny to boost the attack of the Balinks. This is just to get Spinny in the graveyard. Now we're going to activate Gazelle. Bring Gazelle to the field, activate effect, dump the Jack Jaguar. And this is why we didn't bring Jack Jaguar to hand, because I'm like, I'll be able to dump it maybe later on. So the opponent still has 1 interruption left in the Rafflesia. They obviously don't have any hand traps, it doesn't look like. And both of these cards are not activatable right now, right? Because they just were, this was Bottomless that was reset, and this was, I think, the special summon Traptrix card that when you special summon and activate a monster effect, it negates and destroys it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead now and bring out the Spinny, and this is playing a little risky because I'm like, the opponent, as soon as I activate this effect, the opponent could negate it. So I was debating if I just wanted to link this off without even activating the effect, which was probably the better option, because then I can out this card on the field, and it, they wouldn't be able to get any utility off of the Rafflesia. So, Rafflesia is a problem because, like I said, it's a quick effect, detaching a material, and then this card effect becomes that Trap Holes effect that they sent to the graveyard. And it also makes it so that their Traptrix cards can't be destroyed by battle and they can't be targeted. So I have to get this off the field before I can even deal with the Sarah. So by activating this effect, I do allow them to activate the Rafflesia to send the Traptrix Hole Nightmare to negate and destroy the Mirage Stalio. So that was probably a misplay. Just linking it off into a Wolf was probably the better play, because then they wouldn't be able to activate Rafflesia to negate and destroy this because it wouldn't be on the field anymore, and I could bounce this card back to the extra deck. So I'm going to activate the Jack Jaguar and bring out the Wolf, use the Sanctuary effect, bring out Wolf with its own material, activate Will, send Will to the graveyard to bring back 2 level 3 Salamangreat monsters, and use Wolf effect to bring back Gazelle most likely from the graveyard, yep, and then go into Mirage Stalio again, but first bring back Will. So I'm thinking, like, does this really make a difference? Because I'm going to end up doing the same play anyways, right? If I did it the other way, yeah, I guess this is better because I end on 2 materials here, right? I don't know. It's hard to say. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to have to link off because I need to use the Mirage Stalio effect to bounce Rafflesia. You may wonder, why didn't you go battle phase first and beat over 2 monsters? Because again, their cards can't be destroyed by battle or card effects when Traptrix Rafflesia is on the field. So I have to out the Rafflesia first, and I have nothing big enough to beat over it. So I'm going to have to use the Mirage Stalio to return it back to the extra deck. The Heat Leo is returning the Trap Hole card that they set, because again, this Bottomless Trap Hole will be banished at the end of next turn. And now I can just beat over the Sarah and set the Roar, which is live because I have a Salamangreat Link monster on board, and I have follow-up for next turn as well. So I'm not in a bad position. If they opt to bring out Rafflesia here because they have the 2 level 4s, I can just negate the effect with Roar if I wanted to. So that's not threatening. They actually opt to go into a Sarah, and then they're going to try to activate Gen Lucia effect, but we are going to negate that. We don't want them setting more trap hole cards. The Bottomless gets banished. Now the opponent has no trap cards to activate. They have no effects to activate. So this Sarah is just sitting here completely open, and this Nepenthes can't do anything either. So at this point, unless they have hand traps, we are essentially going to go full combo here and win the game. So despite what might have been a misplay, and again, it's when you're in these matches, you're on a timer, it's hard to really think through all of your options so far ahead. You're going to make misplays, and maybe that was a misplay, maybe it wasn't, but in the end here, you can see we're still able to combo off because we know how to beat Traptrix. We got to get the Sarah off the field, we got to out the Rafflesia, we have to know the pattern of how to out the opponent's monsters in order to set up our own board. And that's the power of Salamangreat. It was all engine. We were just able to constantly play through all of the opponent's interruptions and go for game on the 3rd turn there. So interesting match for sure, in my opinion. Hopefully you enjoyed it. All right, to start things off, we are going second. Our hand is pretty good, and you'll notice this about Salamangreats: if you don't opt to play any board breakers, you're essentially just relying on your engine and hand traps to disrupt your opponent in order to actually make plays. The downside is, of course, if your opponent doesn't play into your hand traps, and I mean, I didn't really draw any anyways, then your opponent's going to get their setups going most likely, and there's nothing that you'll be able to do to stop them. So right now, what our game plan is with this Phantasm deck, this is kind of like a lockdown control deck. We have to attempt to just play through the opponent's interruptions, and we have enough engine that we can attempt to do that. So we're going to start off by normal summoning Foxy, no effects, that we can use the Foxy effect in the graveyard to discard a Salamangreat card to bring it back and pop a face-up card on the field. Now in order to do that, there does need to be a face-up spell or trap on the field, but there is, right, in the opponent's field spell, and we're going to get our own field spell off the Bailings. So we got 2 materials on board, and because a Salamangreat monster in the Foxy went to the graveyard, that's going to trigger Gazelle. Gazelle is going to go ahead and try to dump, but the opponent reveals Spiral Power, which will negate the dumping of a card, of a Salamangreat card by the Gazelle. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and activate the Foxy effect from the graveyard, special summon it back to the field by discarding the Spinny to the grave, and then popping the opponent's field spell. Now we're going to go ahead and link off, make the Sunlight Wolf, bring back Spinny for free from the graveyard to the zone that the Sunlight Wolf points to, and that's going to get us back the Foul to our hand. So we've got 2 more cards to deal with on the opponent's side. The Phantasm field spell is gone off the field, which means they can't play these hand traps from their hand. As you can see here, these cards, these Phantasm cards, if Umi is on the field, you can activate this card from your hand. So there's a number of different traps that are like that, but now we've outed the field spell, we don't have to worry about it. So we're going to go ahead and make the Mirage Stalio with the 2 level 3s, activate field spell, and then field spell effect to bring Sunlight Wolf back with its own material, and the opponent's going to reveal another Spiral Power that they had set. So that's going to negate the ability for us to bring back a spell or trap, and we were going to bring back Circle. So again, not really super critical. That was follow-up for next turn. They should have really negated the bringing back of a monster, but they obviously knew that we were going to bring out another wolf with the Sanctuary. So they had to choose which one they wanted to negate, and they opted to negate this spell Recursion. So now we're going to go ahead and use the Mirage Stalio with the other materials to go into a Heat Leo, and this is going to clear the opponent's field. The Mirage Stalio being used as a link material for a Salamangreat card will out the Spiral token, and then the Heat Leo will out the back row card, either forcing the activation or returning it to the deck. So we put the opponent now just on 2 cards. We've got a Link 2 and a Link 3 Salamangrate monster, and the opponent reveals evenly matched. That's really unfortunate. We're going to keep the Sunlight Wolf because remember, this was summoned with its own material, and its attack will go back up to 1800 during the end phase. But the materials that we lost in the Circle, the Heat Leo, and the Sanctuary, there's nothing we could really do since we reset the Circle with the Falco. We either had to use the effect there or we just couldn't use it, so it's not a big loss. At least we didn't set the Rage and then get evenly matched. So we're still in a good position because the opponent's going to draw and have 2 cards in hand, and we have Rage, which will destroy up to 2 cards on the opponent's field. So they set 2, and during end phase, we activate Salamangrate Rage, pop both of the opponent's cards. Now they're on nothing. We have extension because, again, we have effects activatable in the graveyard. We draw Will, which is really good, and I think the opponent was like, yep, that's game. I understand that I can't come back, and they scoop it up. So, despite going second against a control deck and playing through a number of interruptions, you've seen us be able to come back and win that match. Okay, this is a quick one. Our opening hand has no hand traps, and the opponent is going first. Now, the problem with this is Adamancipator sets up a big enough board that Salamangrates through its regular engine can't play through it, so I just scoop right away because there's no point in watching a 10-minute combo go off for something that I won't be able to break anyway. Alright, in this matchup, it's not looking too hot with 2 Maxis and 2 Gazelles, but Gazelle is still a good card. I'd rather have 2 of this than 2 of anything else, to be honest, because the normal summon of the Gazelle to dump a Spinny and then special summon the other one from the hand. Now we can bring back Spinny and go into Mirage Dahlia and do extension plays from here. So you can see that even when you have not the greatest hand, you can still extend a little bit with Salamangrates, thanks to like Mirage Dahlia and Gazelle being the best Salamangrate main deck monster in the entire deck. So you can see that this extension here doesn't look that impressive, but we do have an indestructible Sunlight Wolf for 1 turn because of the Phalanx. We had an Imperm, but it forced out the opponent's Feather Duster. They reveal that they're on Gunkan. We're going to go ahead and activate Max C. That's going to give us some free draws, which will get us into 2 Ash Blossoms. So we've drawn 2 Max Cs, 2 Gazelles, and 2 Ashes. And because we ashed the effect of the 1 Gunkan, they can't Xyz because they can't make the other material the level that they need it to be because it has a search effect with it, which means that Ash can negate it, and they scoop it up after that.